Merry Christmas, everyone. It's Calamity here, and today I'm going to bring you something wholesome for Christmas. We are going to be talking about Crystal's Ponytail on the SEGA Genesis. Now, I'm sure that people are going to see the title of this video, and they're probably going to see the thumbnail, and they're going to expect me to just hate on this game just because of the subject matter, just because of the game's design and who it's aimed for, but I'm not that type of person. I'm not going to bash a game for no reason. In fact, I'd actually go as far as say that this game is actually not that bad, and it's actually pretty fun once you actually get into it. So this is Crystal's Ponytail, and what this game is part of the line of SEGA Club video games. Now, SEGA Club video games was a very small line of video games that was made for the SEGA Genesis, and there's not a whole lot of video games in this line. Some of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head are the Magic School Bus, there's the Accounting Cafe from Sesame Street, and there's also the Berenstain Bears. So, and there's a few other ones I believe, but it's not a very big line of SEGA Genesis games, and if you want a complete collection, it probably wouldn't be that hard to get. In fact, I would actually like to have a complete collection of the SEGA Club video games eventually. Now, the SEGA Club, the whole idea behind it was to make games aimed for younger kids, and that was the whole point of it. And, you know, I'm sure that a lot of people, like I said, will see this and they'll be like, well, it's a game for kids, it's probably not much fun to it, but it actually does have some cool little ideas for what it is. The graphics of this game are very cutesy, 16-bit, of course, and it actually doesn't look too bad for what it is. It is a puzzle platforming game. Each level, it's kind of interesting because the levels, while they're split up, they transition to one another very easily and very smoothly, and you have to go back and replay the levels multiple times to actually get all the puzzle pieces that you need, because there's actually puzzle pieces in some levels that you'll have to get to in order to go back to other levels to get the pieces you need to beat the game. So I thought that was actually kind of cool the way they did that. So there's definitely some exploration involved. You have to figure out how to get certain items. And, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple because, obviously, this is a game made for kids. It's not that complicated. But it does have some neat ideas and some fun puzzles, I will say. The whole objective of this game is to play as the main character, the main pony, and rescue all the captured horses from this wizard who has basically sealed them away in multiple different scenarios. And the way that you free these horses is by collecting these different types of gems, and that's part of the reason why it's called Crystal's Ponytail. Yeah, there's the main character, Crystal, but there's also actual crystals you're collecting in the game. And each crystal goes to a specific horse's, basically, goes to a specific horse to release them. So you have to find each specific gem in order to release them. And to find these gems, you basically have to open chests and stuff like that. You have to find them in all sorts of different ways. There's many different ways to find the gems that you're looking for. But it usually involves solving some sort of small puzzle to be able to do it. It's usually pretty simple stuff. Like, you can get hints from the other animals that are around. If you see some other animals, you can actually go up to them and they'll give you like a little thought bubble, and it will give you an image of what you kind of need to do and kind of lead you towards that direction. So it's usually stuff like you need to move this wagon out of the way of this barn door to be able to open up the barn door, and then there's a chest in there, and to open the chest you have to gather keys, which you can find all over the place. There's keys everywhere in this game, so very easy to get those. There's some that are as simple as finding a carrot, getting this carrot to a rabbit, and the rabbit will go underground and get the chest for you, and the gem will be in it and stuff like that. So it's just really simple puzzles like that. However, for what it is, you have to remember what this game is. It's a game made for kids. I think in that case, it's actually pretty simple, pretty fun, and it would actually be good for kids. Obviously, these days, it's kind of weird because obviously most kids aren't going to be playing a SEGA Genesis game. This is mainly basically for collectors at this point. But still, I do think that there's fun even to be had as a collector because there's some cool ideas in this. And overall, the actual level design, the map layout, and all that stuff, and replaying the levels is actually pretty fun. It's not a very long game. This only takes, it takes less than an hour probably to beat. And I'm not really too sure about the replay value. I'm not sure how many people are going to want to go back and replay this. But that being said, it still, I think, has some good ideas and is at least worth one playthrough. Other than the keys and the gems that you need to collect through the game to free the horses and get the gems that you need, you also have to collect horseshoes. And the horseshoes are important because you have to have enough horseshoes to be able to exit a level. If you do not have enough horseshoes, it will actually be like, oh, sorry, try again. So you have to make sure that you have enough horseshoes to be able to go through this like magical portal and if you have enough of those horseshoes, it will let you go through it and back to either the next area of the level or back to this like kind of hub world area. There's this little hub world, and it has 3 barn doors, and it will take you to one of the 3 worlds that you need to go to. And it's kind of cool because once you actually get everything you need in one of these worlds, it will actually put an X on the barn door to let you know that you no longer need to go back and replay that level. And I actually thought that was kind of cool. So it gives you, it lets you know, like, hey, no need to keep searching in this level. You're good. Go to the next level. And I like that. That's actually something that I wish games that were on the Sega Genesis and other systems. This is something I wish other games would have done. Let me know that I'm done with an area, so I don't have to keep searching through a certain area. I actually kind of like that. So, not a bad idea. There is another way actually to get to certain other worlds, and that's because there's like these little paintings that are put up, and they're kind of like just signs, and you can go up to them. And if you press the action button on them, it will actually teleport you to another one of the worlds. And I thought that was actually kind of an interesting idea too. I guess it's just really a workaround to get to other levels, to get more horseshoes before you actually spend horseshoes to go to another level. So, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of an interesting idea that they put that in there. So you can find these little hidden signs. If you press on them, you get to go to another world a little bit early. So that's cool. And another thing that actually this game has is it has some customization. So you can actually change the colors of Crystal. I think that that's actually kind of cool. Again, early games from the 16-bit era that have customization, I always think that's a cool thing for them to have because you just don't see a lot of games from this era have that. So the fact that you can even do something as simple as change the colors of the main character, I think that's actually a really cool idea, and I'm glad that that's in the game. So just something extra for people who play this game. It would have been great for kids back in the day to be able to just select whatever character color they wanted for the horse, and I think it would have actually gone over pretty well. And the other thing, and probably the last thing worth mentioning for this game, is that there is enemies in this game, and you do have to be careful because when the enemy hits you, it will make you drop your horseshoe, and if you don't have enough horseshoes, you can't exit a level, so you have to be careful about doing that. It will, if you go through the portal with not enough, it will be like, oh, sorry, you don't have enough, and it will basically make you restart the level or whatever. So there are enemies, you have to watch out for the enemies, and there's also boss battles. I was kind of surprised by that, because when I heard Sega Club and I heard about what this line was for, and I knew that this game was for younger kids, I didn't really expect there to be even things like boss battles in it, but there actually is some boss battles. You have to fight the evil wizard who's flying around and the one who captured you, and I mean, he's pretty easy to beat. All you have to do is wait for him to kind of fly down and then press the action button and do, the whole action move. I don't know what it's called. It's the horse stands up on the back feet and like swats the front hoofs at him. So that's basically what you do. But that's all you have to do. You basically just press the action button whenever he gets close, and it does damage to him. And it's pretty easy. But it's cool that they even have boss fights like that. It's the same guy who he comes around like 3 or 4 different times to fight. It's easy to beat him, but again, just the fact that the boss fights are even in this game kind of surprised me. And I was actually pretty happy with how it was designed. It wasn't too bad. Overall, I think that this is actually a really fun, well-designed game for what it is. You do have to remember what this is. You are not getting a game that is going to be an intense RPG or a Metroidvania experience. That's not what you are getting. You are getting a cutesy puzzle platformer that is very short. But if you want something that is still fun, if you are looking for something different, because this game is definitely different, and I will say if you're looking for something that actually controls pretty well, for the most part this game does control pretty well, I think that this is not a bad game to pick up for the collection. It's usually pretty cheap. You can usually find it for $15 or less, and that is usually with the box, so keep that in mind. So I think for that price, it's worth it. The game's fun. It controls pretty well. When you're playing as Crystal, you actually have to kind of get a running start on your jumps because your horse kind of like gallops, so even when you stop, they continue to gallop a little bit. So I wouldn't call it slippery, but I would say that the galloping actually feels right for a horse character. I think it actually makes sense for a horse character. So I think it even controls well. So graphically, it looks pretty decent for what it is, and it controls well, and overall, it's a fun little video game. So go check it out if you can pick it up for a cheap price. I think it's worth a shot. Don't expect anything great, but for what it is, you have to remember what this game is. For what it is not bad. So go check out Crystal's Ponytail on the Sega Genesis. Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will speak to you in the next one. Bye-bye.